Hello, welcome. I think we are live. Welcome, and I am so pleased to share with you today this live session on how to create a safe and loving childhood for your children affected by narcissists. So many of you have asked about this, and it's really no wonder you've asked about this because co-parenting with a narcissist is impossible. It literally doesn't work because narcissists don't cooperate. So what's really good about today is we have a new system that allows us to broadcast simultaneously from YouTube and Facebook. So, people who, for example, don't like Facebook can listen on YouTube and watch this. So it's really good. So today I'm going to be talking about some very, very important key topics, and which they are about is how to deal with the fear of what your children are going through, because it's huge. How to be the most solid, safe, supportive parent that you can be for your kids. How to minimize the effects that the narcissist has on your children, and what is the most powerful thing you can do to ensure that your children grow up healthy, empowered, and whole. And it's lovely. Hi, Grace. It's lovely to see you. And Ilian, it's beautiful to see you. I knew you wanted to be here. And Ivy, Heather, one of my favorite people. Hey, it's so great to see everybody. So drop in. Oh, Helma Rose. Gosh, so many of my favorite peeps are here today. We're going to have an awesome time here today because this is such a really gut-wrenching topic. It is just so big. And we all know that we want the best for our kids. And it can just be really... Hello, Michael from Cincy. I guess that's one of those American places. And everybody's saying hi. So this is really great. It's really great to see that you're here and you're present with this very important topic today. This topic is so personally close to my heart. And it's such a complex issue, and it's caused a lot of anguish to people. Over the last 10 years, I think this is probably the hardest topic that I've seen people had to deal with. So I want to, and even though I've done resources on it, I've done Thriver TVs and I've done blogs, because there's been such a request for this, I really wanted to do a live session on this so that I could dive into this deeply with you, as well as answer your on-the-spot questions about this. Hi, Grace. It's so nice to hear your voice again. You helped me through the toughest time of my entire life. Aw, Grace, you're so welcome. You can see, everyone, I really do have the best job in the world. I feel so blessed and fortunate and humbled to be able to help people at the level that I can. And I'm very humbled and very passionate about our future generations, about our kids not having to go through what we have as adults, and their children to be able to experience a completely different reality as well, because, it's all about changing us, and then we can change things for our kids and their future generations. And really, literally, we can change our world. And that's what the Thriver movement is so much about. So I just want you to say that I understand intimately and personally how absolutely torturous it is seeing your child affected by a narcissist. I went through this myself with my son, Zack, who I'm blessed to have beside me today. He's here today. I don't know if you want to. He's busy with things, but he'll pop in and say hi soon. And I know a lot of people, a lot of you love Zack, and you know him through this community. But Zack and I, it wasn't always like this, the relationship we have now, and the health that we both have now. We both went through a horrible situation with my ex-narcissistic husband, who was his stepfather. However, it was there was a lot of high-level abuse. There was lots of times and things that Zack saw and experienced that were absolutely not healthy. And of course, he had a very shattered, unavailable, victimized mother back then. I wasn't in my power. I was incredibly hooked into the narcissist. And And the ex-narcissistic husband, he played my son. He had him believing him, as they do with a lot of people. So, it was very much on the verge of alienation. Things were so bad. And anyway, what happened was I was doing the normal parental thing, which is lecturing and prescribing, and I wasn't taking responsibility for my own wounds and healing. I was just being that mother who was like, well, this isn't about me. This is about my son, and I've got to try and fix him and help him and stop him and all these things that I was doing. And I didn't realize at the time that I had to be the force and the model leading the way for him, and I certainly wasn't. And what ended up happening with I always get emotional when I talk about this. What happened was, with my beautiful, incredible 19-year-old boy, he massively got into drugs, and he was at the point of really dying. It was that bad. And I was trying to force him to get better and to keep a job or get a job or get back to uni or do all the things that I thought he needed to do. And I was seeing him as broken and devastated and not good enough and all those things. And in truth, I was absolutely the same. And because I wasn't healing my wounds, and he had no respect for me. He wasn't listening. The more I tried to fix him and change him, the harder he pushed back. And it ended up getting to the point at 19 years of age where I literally had to kick him out of the home because it was becoming incredibly abusive for me as well. And it was then that I finally had the epiphany that I needed to heal me. I needed to detach from trying to... I was deeply into quantum truths, and I'd used them for myself, and I healed myself a long way. However, the way I saw him and I was relating to him was still very toxic and still very disempowered and incredibly judgmental and conditional. So I wasn't empowering him at all. So finally the penny dropped that I needed to detach from him, and I had to make me feel better. I had to resolve inwardly my wounds about him, to see him in a different way and believe in him in a different way, in order for him to rise up into where I wanted him to be. And I also had to realize that if I didn't love and respect myself with the way he was talking to me and treating me, as addicts do, they're very narcissistic when they're like that. If I didn't love and respect myself, how could he learn to love and respect himself, and how could he love and respect me? So I kicked him out of the house. It was really very traumatic. And then I held my space and I got down to healing how I saw him, and I did proxy healings on him with Quantum Freedom Healing, with NARP as well, to actually see and feel him through my body, through working on me, to him to heal and come into his true self. 3 weeks later, he rang me, we met, he hugged me, he thanked me profusely, and he dropped the drugs and the alcohol, and he's actually never looked back. So, it was a miracle. I believe it was a generated, purposeful miracle that that we co-generated together. And I could have lost my son, my only son. I really believe I probably would have lost him if I hadn't have anchored into the quantum way to heal this. So as you can see, I'm very, very passionate about this. Over the last 10 years, I've seen so many people suffering from this, and my heart goes out to them every single time. And, people here are saying, Hilma Rose, and other people here, I know you're here for this reason. So it's beautiful that we can have this collaboration and this conversation together. And Ashley from Facebook is saying that, this topic is so vital at the moment. I don't know how to navigate parenting with my ex. So, this is going to be our deep dive today. This is going to be the thing that I want to inspire you about. I want to empower you with. And I really want to go through some essential points about, we have to get really honest, and we have to get really straight here. And we have to, if we're going to lead the way for our kids, we can't keep being victims to this. We can't keep pointing the finger outwards and saying, well, is it any wonder the narcissist is terrible? They're doing all of these horrible things. I know they are, and I really validate that and what we go through with that. But I really promise you from the bottom of my heart, when we look at the Thriver Recovery Way to Heal, we need to drop all of that. We need to drop the story, and we need to look at it and work with this in a completely different way. Because not just does our survival and thriving depend on it, also our survival and thriving of our children and our future generations depend on this. We have to lead the way. We have to lead the way. And we can. And what I've seen consistently in this community so many times is that when one parent, the non-narcissistic parent, works very, very hard to recover themselves and then knows how to parent their children in a powerful way that actually is going to empower them, then everything shifts and everything changes. And I've just lost an earring. I have this kind of, I don't know if anybody has this, like this earring thing happened to me. Anybody out there have this earring thing? I don't know. It's weird. I'm going to take them out so that it's not distracting. All right. Okay. So, and Grace is saying, because of you, I am making much better decisions about my life. This is good. This is good. We're going to get to questions, but how about we go through some points first? And then I'm going to specifically get to your questions. Is that okay? So I just want you to park them for a second, and then we're going to get deeply into them. But I really do want to go through these essential points because I know they're going to be really, really helpful for you. And I just want you to have an open mind and a heart today, because when we're looking at the Thriver methods, which are quantum methods of healing and recovery for ourselves and our children, at first, they're totally counterintuitive. They're not what we've been taught. They're not what we think will help. And they're uncomfortable at first. They're very, very uncomfortable. But there's no time that this is more important to get to energetic and quantum truths about life and how to change our life in powerful ways that do work. Because narcissists are this thing. They really bring to us the understanding that the normal rules of engagement do not apply. So the more we try to make them responsible and decent and cooperative, the less they are. Normal, non-personality disordered people have a conscience and they want things like solution and harmony. Narcissists don't at all. So we have to be the generative force of how we want our life to go and our kids' lives to go, regardless of what a narcissist is or isn't doing. So we need to work at this a different way than what we've been cognitively, logically taught. Okay, so let's have a look at this. All right. Okay, so I want to have a look at some of the key mistakes that people make when it's not working to help our children. The first one is really huge. It's massive. Now, I don't know how spiritual you personally are, or religious, or you believe in a higher power, or you believe in a higher system of life. But when we take the high road, it can actually give us a wider, deeper understanding and more power within our container to be able to generate the life we want, regardless of what's happening. So one of the biggest things that I teach people, and one of the biggest things that the Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Program helps us shift into, is acceptance. Because we cannot change or work with anything in a positive way until we actually accept it is what it is. It doesn't mean we have to like it. It doesn't mean we have to agree with it. But it means that oh, thank you, Lisa, saying my scarf looks really good. That's very sweet of you. Okay. Acceptance is great. It's really good. So acceptance is that this is my child's and my journey. This is happening for us and not to us. This is something that our soul has brought through to us as an experience so that we can evolve beyond who we were previously being. Now, I know many of you who are thriving totally 100% know that the experience of narcissistic abuse forced us to get into our body, to find and release our traumas and our false programs and our limitations, to be able to release them, bring in source, our higher self, our higher power, to evolve ourselves into higher, more expanded, happier, confident, incredible versions of ourselves. That's thriving. That's what I stand for. That's what my life has become. You know, I personally came back from a diagnosis that I was never meant to survive. And now look at me. My son, absolutely. What he has been through now, he's 29 years of age. He's the most, at 29, he's evolved. He's incredible. He's compassionate. He's generous. He's probably getting a very big head listening to everything I'm saying about him while he's sitting here, but it's true. I'm his biggest supporter. And so much of this is because of what he's been through. And he is incredibly passionate about helping children who have been abused. So if you could have seen him at 19, you would never even believe he's this person. And I know it's not despite what we went through, it's because of what we went through. So this is what I really want you to start accepting and understanding, that there is a bigger, higher purpose for this. If we are all souls in a human body having an experience of wanting to evolve and to free ourselves of fear and pain to become our true self, who we really are, what better experience than that, than to have the grist of a dark entity, a false self, pushing you to become that. So if you can bless and accept this journey, you can start working with it. If you hate it, despise it, think it's a horrible mistake, it should never be happening, we are automatically a victim. And when we're a victim, it means that we are powerless to change our experience. A victim says, I am not the generative source of my own experience. I am powerless in the face of what other people in life are doing to me. Well, I was there. It nearly killed me. It nearly killed my son. So let's all rise up and let's get to this stuff. Okay, so acceptance. Now, the other thing is, of course, we're going to see our children as having a parent that's not loving, that's not supportive, that doesn't care about them. They're getting hurt with comments. Okay, now if we keep banging on about that and we keep seeing it like that and we keep saying to them, this is horrible, this is happening to you, it shouldn't be happening to you, he or she should be doing this and shouldn't be doing that, we're in wrong town. What we're doing is we're just supplementing and implementing that. But when we actually say to our child, you're amazing, you're incredible, this person's just doing this because that's what they do. But this is not a reflection on you. And you're going to learn what I have and what I'm modeling and what I'm leading the way. I am leading the way of how to be empowered and whole in the face of this, regardless of what they are or aren't doing, how I'm not going to sweat the small stuff, how I can walk boundaries calmly, powerfully, And we don't want our children to get hooked into the experience of thinking that their life, their happiness, their joy, their generation of their successes is dependent on what somebody else is or isn't doing. We do not want that. But we have got to, how can we teach them that unless we get to that? So this is the thing, it all comes back to we have to work on ourselves. We have to. And Ileana, who I had the most incredible Skype chat with, she does Parenting for Wholeness. You got to check out her stuff. It's incredible. Parenting for Wholeness. Look it up on Facebook. Okay, we had a very powerful discussion about how, all of the parents that are in her programs now, she's saying, go and do Melanie's program, go and do NARP, so that you can heal your inner traumas and get whole so you can lead the way for your children. All right. So Corey, you're having trouble having access. Yes, we are live. Okay. We have to walk our talk, Vic is saying. We do. We have to. So the thing is, we don't want our children are not okay with what we're not okay with. This is the deal. So, I used to be not okay with what my son had been through, and the guilt of what I'd put him through and what he'd experienced and what he'd seen and how his stepfather talked to him and how his stepfather did horrible things and lied to him and smeared me. And, when I was not okay, Zack was not okay. When we get okay, we say this thing that is happening in my experience, including what's happening with my child, this trauma that is triggered off with me, I can go within myself to energetically heal it. This is what NARP's all about, and it is a super tool and it's incredibly powerful, where I can claim and hold my wounds, I can release them, I can bring in source, and I can become a new self. I can become a true self who says, I am the generative source of my experience, no matter what is or isn't happening with somebody else. Narcs push us to this level because you know what? This is a make or break experience for us, let alone our kids. We either get this right or we're going to be traumatized and broken for the rest of our life. And then epigenetically, how are our children's genes switching on or off? They too are going to have genes that are switched on for hyper and hypo arousal, anxiety or depression. They're going to have genes switched on in their amygdala, which means that they're in fight and flee and they can't be present and powerful in the now because they're worried about what might happen. And, those inner chemical experiences that we have are exactly how our life will go, how our future generations' lives will go, and what's going to be drawn into their and our experiences. So the only work to do is the inner work, because then when we show up differently and we're completely different in the experience, then the experience can change. So we need to stop seeing our children as broken down and abused. We actually need to see them as incredible, amazing, and able to work with this. And we show them how to work with this. So when they get home from the other parent, we will see, we may want to question them. We may want to dig. We might want to pry. We might want to overparent. We might want to compensate, and give them more. And I promise you, when I've worked with adults, the most damage that has happened in childhoods, where everybody's life gets set up. The biggest damage happened when there was a narcissistic parent and there was an overcompensating victim parent who tried to fix it. That's when the damage was so bad for somebody. So, and I know this is counterintuitive. I tried to mop up my son. I tried to cuddle him and ask him questions and lecture and prescribe and sit on his bed and all that kind of stuff to him. But, what he needed was a powerful, solid, safe parent that modeled health. That's what he needed. And that's when he became it. So how about we'll take a little break now and let's do some, I want to go through some questions here. I don't know if the team have you guys captured any questions for me? How about, all right, I'm just going to go through some stuff. Right. Okay, this is a really good question. How do you talk to the children about the narcissistic parent? It's such a good question. The really important thing is to not put down the other parent, to not bag them, to not defile them in front of the child. By doing that, you can really set you up for parent alienation. Because when we're angry and righteous and judging and accusing, it's a very toxic energy to be around, and our kids don't want to be around that. So, how do you talk about the other parent? I would do that as least as possible. I would, if behavior comes up, then you would just talk in a very calm, solid way about how you empower your child in the face of that behavior. So it's like, well, your dad just drops you off at the grandparents and doesn't spend time with you. And it's like, well, people can and will do whatever they want to do. That's, we can't stop them doing that. But it doesn't mean that you're not lovable and you're not incredible and people don't want to connect with you. I love spending time with you, other people. And, I want you to see yourself as worthy and whole and worth love, because you are so amazing, And I love what Fit Vix just put up there. It is okay to simply say we've got different approaches to the same things. I love that. That's really powerful. So I hope you're really getting a gist and a vibe of this. All right, so we've got another question from Irina P from the YouTube community. I hope, Melanie, you can give tools on how to help a teenager son who had a suicide call a week ago. Okay, how to help a teenage son who had a suicide call a week ago. I had to give up custody 3 years ago and his narcissistic father has completely brainwashed him against me. Okay, I'm still been dragged into court for 11 years. So Irene, you're going through has been in the midst, which clearly led him to, okay. So your son is having suicidal thoughts. You've been dragged into court, left alone. Oh gosh. Okay, Irina, this is really big. And this is a big question. I'm glad you put it up. I want everybody to understand, in Irina, that the healing is actually all the same. Doesn't matter what we're dealing with. So in this situation, Irina, I guess this is quite similar to where my son was, because he was taking drugs to the level where he was killing himself and he could have had an OD. Anything could have gone wrong. It was so destructive. He was killing himself. So the first thing always is we cannot, quantum truth works like this. We cannot, when we're in trauma about somebody we love, we can't change them. Quantum law is so within, so without. We have to change ourselves first and foremost. So what I would do, and what I did do, is that I deeply got into healing how I felt about this and how I was. So I don't know if you've looked at NARP. I don't know if you're working with NARP. It's always going to be my strongest suggestion, my healing program, because with that, you can access from day one. You can start picking up all of that trauma that you're in, which is significant about this, letting it, releasing it out of your being and bringing in source higher self, which is our superconscious, which heals what we can't heal. Because then what happens is everything starts resetting back to wholeness. You can actually do healings on your son by proxy as well once you've released your trauma about it. And that's exactly what I did with my son. I did the healings by proxy. So I used my body as his body. I don't know if you've done energetic healing or you're aware of kinesiology or you've done anything like EFT or subconscious reprogramming healing. It's people like Bessel van der Kolk, who's a neuroscientist. He's the leading expert in trauma in the world. We have also Joe Dispenza and Bruce Lipton, my heroes, who are neuroscientists and quantum scientists. Everybody's now proving, logically, cognitively, we cannot fix anything. We cannot change emotional programs because they run 95% of our life. Our logical thinking is only 5%. So every action that we're doing from logical thinking is only 5% in power, combating 95% of emotional programs, which is driving what's happening with you and your son, for both of you. So that work has got to be done within. Now, your son is probably not going to do the work, but as his mother, you have what's known as cellular core entanglement with him, which means where you shift, he follows. He will organically follow. So this is, okay, you're seeking help and actual tools. The tool is NARP. The help is our entire NARP Thriver community, which is an incredible private forum. Thank you for the past 8 years. You're so welcome. Irene, you just need to take it to a quantum level. And what else is there to do when things get this bad? please get on NARP. If you have a problem with any of that, get onto our support team. We also sponsor people on NARP who are in financial difficulty. I don't want anybody to go without it. So let's take it to that level, and we can really help this. We can really do this. So let's see if there's, all right, Grace. Grace is saying, I belong to NARP and other programs, but I keep having panic attacks every morning since last September. I can't get my body to listen to my mind. Okay, Grace, I just want to say to you that you can actually target the trauma that's generating the panic attacks. You can do that with Module 1 of NARP. You can do with the Source Healing and Resolution healing module in the latest version of NARP that's been released. And you can be in the NARP community, in the NARP forum with all of us, and we can, hold your hand and direct you to this. Okay, you can go to a hypnotist, definitely, but you're not getting the Source Healing replacement, which I've found personally, and a lot of other people have found in this community, that hypnotism is not as powerful as quantum freedom healing. Humbly, that's only my opinion, when you really nail it with quantum freedom healing, which I'd love to help you to do. So there definitely is a solution to this. Okay, go. Yes, you're going to go to the forum. Beautiful. All right. All right, Victoria has said, I am struggling with one daughter not wanting to see her narc dad, and the other daughter is seeing him, but it's really hard for her. Okay, so Victoria, the first step is, I don't know whether you're working NARP or not, and I'm sorry, I am going to bang on about it, because we all know logically it is very, very hard to sort these things out. And we talk to our kids, and we can get advice, and we can research, and we can learn everything. But until we get a shift, an emotional shift that creates space and room for healing and change, it's really difficult. So, for your daughter, well, first you have to accept that they're doing their own choices and their own journey. And then I would really just release the trauma of how you see that, and empower the daughter that is seeing him with things that we're talking about now, and letting go of your trauma on it, and let the other daughter, she'll do her thing. She will do her thing. All right, so let's just get on to the next. Victoria, you're working with NARP. Beautiful. That's perfect. Release the trauma of everything you're feeling about your daughters. Do that first. Then you're going to know organically how to show up. Because when we lose the trauma and we get the source replacement, we know how to feel about it. We know how to think about it. We get infinite wisdom. We get a way to show up and be and co-generate that works for the highest best for all concerned, which is always the truth and the flourishing and the nourishing and the healing. So it will work. It will absolutely work. Okay, so let's have a look. Hannah, this is a quick one I want to look at. How do I get rid of flying monkeys? This is a new thing that's just happened to me. My stress levels are off the chart. The stress levels are off the chart because you're getting traumatized into persecution programs. I really want you, Hannah, to Google flying monkeys, abuse by proxy, and my name, because I've got a lot of stuff there that you can have a look at about that. All right, so let's move on. Just park your questions for a minute, and I hope all of you get your questions answered, but we'll go back to them and the team will pick out really important ones. All right. And, for all of you that are NARPers, I know a lot of you kind of sit back and don't use the forum, but I cannot tell you how powerful, magical, supportive, and transformative the forum is. And there's lots of parents, including myself, that have worked through parental stuff and transformed our kids beyond description. And just, in a few minutes, I want to share one of those stories with you, which is incredibly spectacular. Okay, so let's have a look. All right, one of the other big mistakes as parents with narcissists is we're trying to hold the narcissist accountable. We need to drop that, okay? when we're triggered about that, because this is all about narcissistic supply for narcissists, and a huge hook that they can use is our children, because it affects us so significantly. So again, we have to release everything that's getting traumatized. Victoria, we met in London. I think I remember who you are. Yeah, we did. We have to release the hooks and the traumas that are getting smashed, where we're trying to hold a narcissist accountable to do the right thing. This you have to realize about the narcissist. The narcissist is somebody in your life that appeared as a false source that we got hooked into, that we thought was going to provide us with love, approval, survival, and security. They're not. They're a false source. They're not a source of any of those things. We need to become a source to ourselves. And it can be very tough for those of you that may not have been in the workforce, who may have everything wrapped up with this person, who are going to lose everything, who have to start again. I was one of those people. I had to start from scratch again. I lost everything. So, but the thing is, when we need their money, when we need their this, when we need their that, when we need their that, when we're hooked into a narcissist for need, even really reasonable human parenting need, they can abuse us. So our mission is to lose our trauma, be developing ourselves as our own source, not needing them, and be self-generative for ourselves and our children. So the message that our children are learning is, well, if I have somebody in my life who's not doing the right thing, I don't have to stay hooked up and into them trying to get love, approval, survival, and security. I will be able to say no. I will be able to leave. I will be able to generate relationship with healthy others as my template, because I'm healthy and self-generative myself. So I remember a friend in my life who, her daughter was so screwed up, from the previous narcissistic husband, because the mother was always saying, well, he doesn't pay maintenance and he didn't do this and he didn't do that and she missed out on this and she missed out on that. You got to get past all of that. I think you get the point here. All right. So Heidi has asked, we're going to get to this one. Heidi's asked, is it okay for me to let my sons go and trust the process? They're on their journey. I'm on mine. Okay. Is it okay for me to let my sons go? I think you're saying go to their father. I guess that's what you're asking. Yeah. Hang on one sec. I'm getting clarification. Just about their journey. Okay, on their journey. Look, to let them go on their journey. Absolutely. We have to let our kids go on their journey. The more that we try to infiltrate and affect their journey, the more they're going to push back and do it anyway. They have to do their journey. But what we can do is that we can energetically heal ourselves to bless and accept their journey, and then we can raise ourselves into a vibration and even do proxy healing where their true self is awakening and getting what it needs to become empowered and self-generative and magnificent. That's what I did with my son. It only took 3 weeks for him to do a 180-degree turn. So that's how we help their journey, and they're meant to do it. Yvonne has asked, is there a way to prepare the kids to visit with their narc father? Again, lose the trauma of what they're going to go through, which I know is huge. Lose that trauma, because there's a really magical thing that happens with our kids at any age. When we're okay with something for them, they're okay with it too. And bless and accept it, and then see and hold while they're away that they are developing and healing and being incredible, and they're finding their true selves. It's really interesting to see what happens with children, even very young, that their parent is leading the way and they're getting empowered. It's so interesting to see what happens in them with a dynamic with a narcissist, because our kids are so wise. When I've worked inside children's beings with quantum freedom healing, the wiring and the way they work is so much more advanced than us. They are superseded models to us, I promise you. So when they start to get it, the way narcissists can't infiltrate them. I have friends and colleagues and clients, and they relay back to me how their children come home, even when they're little, and they say, "Oh gosh, dad or mum," they sound like wise old people. They go, "Oh, he or she said that, but I know that means this." It's just beautiful to see. And Beatrice, who I wrote about, in my book, in chapter 18, under healing by proxy, when she first started doing healings with me and working with NARP, she was 37. Her son was only 12 months old, and she was co-parenting with a really nasty narcissist. And her son was diagnosed with ADHD, anxiety disorders. He had leaky gut. He was a mess. She was a mess. She couldn't sleep. She was traumatized beyond measure. She was barely functioning. So she got to work. And her son, he's now 4. He has no conditions, medications whatsoever. He still goes to the narcissist. Her life has gone from strength to strength to strength. She's flourishing and thriving. Her son, at 4 years of age, does his own quantum freedom healings. He goes, "Mummy, I feel anxiety or stuff. I pick it up, I visualize, I send it off, I bring in source." And he's like this little quantum machine at 4 years of age. And he is rocking it. He's not. Can you imagine if we learnt this stuff at 4? Wow, that's really leading the way for our kids. So, I hope that answers your question, Yvonne. I really hope that answers your question. All right. So now I know a lot of you are going to have to go through, court, and you're going to have to get parenting orders. Boundaries are very important with narcissists. They're really important. So, and when you're dealing with authorities, we have lots of people in the community that, "Sarah, Tricky, love the book. I'm glad you love my book. Grace, get my book." Yeah, okay. It's really important when we have lots of people, as I said, that are in the community that are having incredible breakthroughs with authorities. They're winning custody. They're winning parenting rights. They're enforcing boundaries. All sorts of things are happening. And this traditionally was not the case in narcissistic abuse at all. What generally happened was narcissists would be vexation litigants. They would keep dragging you back and back and back and back and empty you out, and even win custody of children and just all sorts of horrific things. And the court system is very set up for narcissists to flourish. However, quantum law is much more powerful than any legal system, any man-made realities. Much more powerful. It's an absolute law, so within, so without. So what happens is when people work the traumas out of their systems and get solid and whole and unwounded and show up that way, to solicitors and legal personnel, and if you're calm and clear and you're not a victim and you're not citing, narcissism, and you're not banging on about your victimhood, and you're just solid and clear and you've got facts, you'll be amazed at how narcissists unravel, how they shoot themselves in the foot, how they get caught out, how they get discredited, and how you win. And this is the energetic law that we can live within, which changes everything. So, I really want you to understand, okay, so Kat Trappin is saying tomorrow is my 3rd year anniversary of NARP. Happy NARP 3rd birthday, Kat. How beautiful. I hope you do something special. All right. So, and Jamie is saying, I totally get that. I totally get that lawyer family court PTSD. Oh, it's a big one, Jamie. It's huge. Because also too, in the human condition, in our epigenetic programming, is a terror of authorities. Authorities can annihilate me. It's massive. And when really, this is the thing that we need to awaken to and realize. Narcissists are smashing all of our deepest epigenetic survival traumas that have plagued this brutal human planet for centuries. they smash them. They bring them all up to the surface. If we can evolve beyond those, then we become extraordinary. And extraordinary is our true self. And what I love is the entanglement theory and truth. When I shift my cells, my son's cells shift automatically. So these awful persecution, trauma programs, fears of annihilation, fears of not being able to exist or survive, when we clear all this stuff that caused us to hand power away and dim down and be terrified and be small and keep being smashed up, when we evolve beyond that stuff, so do our children. And this is what, we're forced to do with narcissists, because if you don't lose the darkness and bring in incredible light, well, then you're stuck in a hell zone. And that's what was happening to all of us. And possibly is still happening to you. All right, so Valerie has said, my son is 9 and I are close, but X and I are close to no contact as possible, which is good, because this is really a parallel parenting model, which is a lot more effective. Now I'm about to relaunch my life, my site, and I'm fighting through fear. Okay. I'm fighting through the fear that my ex will be jealous and somehow take it out on my sons. All right. Okay, I'm dying to ask. I love this. With all the success you have, and clearly both of you sitting here, and your ex must know you're talking about him. Yeah, probably, totally. Clearly you are both well, but how does that work out with the narc? Does he? Okay, I love this question, Valerie. Well, Valerie, I work the Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Program. I work with Quantum Freedom Healing, and I promise you, there is no way I could be sitting here doing what I did unless I'd done those healings, because I was terrified of the ex-narcissist, and he used to rip my life to pieces horrifically. I couldn't have done it. I got the fear out of my body. I literally went to those traumas and those terrors of what could he do or what would he do, and I released them and I let them go and I brought in source. I actually have no fear. I'm like, I don't have fear about many things anymore. And if he was to turn up, and I know quantum law is true, but if he was to turn up and have a crack, what's he going to do? What's he going to do? Really? That's kind of how I feel about it. So that's it. I couldn't have possibly. That's your answer. Please check out NARP. Please, because I don't know anything that works like this does. So Moj, do you think it's okay to meet up with your child, his late 20s now, and talk about things, or would the kid think that you were talking about their father negatively? No, I wouldn't talk about their father negatively at all, Moj. I really wouldn't do that. And don't, with our kids, we really don't want to talk about, what's hurting us and what's wrong with us. And we want to show up as a person with our children who's saying, you know what, I'm taking responsibility for my own wounds and I'm healing, and everything I've been through has been perfect because it's bringing me to my healing and evolution, and I'm here to support yours. That's who we need to be for our kids. Does that help? And then your conversation and your unfolding will be organic and beautiful. There's another person in my life that is getting alienation from daughters. She's not working on herself. And, she's always telling her children about the victim she is and how horrible the ex was to her. Of course her children aren't, bonding with her or growing with her or getting empowered through her. I hope that really helps you. Okay, so April, I love your answer. What's he going to do? Yeah, I don't know. What could he do? All right, so Nikki Clark, Mel, you and your work have literally saved my life. Oh, bless. My work saved my life too, Nikki. I'm so glad other people benefit as well. Here's my question. How do we figure out if we should be flexible or really insist on the rules when parallel parenting? Specifics could make it a little easier for me to understand that. I think there's negotiables and non-negotiables, and they may be different for everybody. Even when we're, fighting and batting for the non-negotiables, we really need to get the trauma out about it, because this is quantum law. Anything that we're looking to change or fix from a traumatized state is only going to bring us more of what's traumatizing us. So within, so without. However, people think, well, if it's not triggering me, then it's not going to matter. That's actually not true. We can be untriggered, but it still matters and we still want it. And we're actually not going to derail ourselves through the trauma of it. So what I would really do is, I guess you need to work out, you need to get your trauma off anything that's really triggering you. You could even, in NARP, you could do a module on the source, healing and resolution of the confusion of that question. Then you'll get clarity. I hope that can help. Okay, so Joanna, really great question. My son is 9 and I'm going to leave his dad. How could I explain what's going on to him? Okay, so as parents, it's really important to understand it is much healthier for us to leave a partner for our children than it is to stay with them because we think it's the right thing for the kids. Because if we stay, they get to see somebody handing their power away, somebody being broken down, somebody not honoring their truth and their values, which is not what we want to model for our children. So I just want to appease your guilt, and you may need to do work on this to understand that you are modeling the best thing for your child possible, that it's not okay to stay in a unhealthy, toxic or abusive relationship, or even one that isn't your values. So that's good. So what you would say to him is, this is not about you. I want you to know, I know this isn't going to validate him. This may not be easy for you. This may be painful, but mummy needs to do what mummy needs to do, and I need to honor me and I need to value me. And it's going to be okay. That's really what the most vital thing is. If you're okay with it, and you're not suffering the guilt and the trauma of what he's going to go through, he will be okay with it. That's the biggest thing here. All right. So Sophie has said, how do we let go of trying to get a narcissist to be accountable when their action is threatening to our child's physical health? Repetitive sunburn without accountability. It's so tough, Sophie, that stuff. That is so, so big. Okay. Because again, it's just quantum law, right? And I'm with you all the way. Like, you are totally entitled to be pissed off about that and really hurt and upset and want accountability. However, I don't make the rules. Quantum law is absolute. The more traumatized you are, the more you are going to get stuff that comes back that gives you more trauma. So for example, I had a client where the narcissist would drive the kids around without seat belts all the time, right? And she was horrified and terrified. She'd bring it up. Of course he wouldn't do it. Of course the kids came home and said, this is horrible, this is terrible. She didn't narp on it. She released the trauma about the kids not wearing seat belts and opened up to source, which is solution, synchronicity, and miracle. That's what source is. It was only, I think, the next day he got pulled up by the police and charged for them not having seatbelts on. We can't force or change anybody to change. We can shift ourselves, and also too, maybe her solution would be the kids providing that information and her calmly and clearly talking to a solicitor where it gets put into a parental program, and he is held accountable. Source creates miracles and synchronicity and solution in ways we can't even fathom. I hope that helps. Rachel has said, is a narc dad part-time better than no dad? Great question. My teens are starting to not want to go over their dad's house for his timeshare, which is already very part-time. Right. They're onto his game and they can't stand it. I might be a little biased about this, but I think what I'm saying is pretty true. What is healthy for our children is what and who is healthy. Who says that just because it's a family member, whoever that is, that this person has to be in our life? If they're not healthy, they're not healthy. Don't push that, but I would honor your children. If they don't want to see him, hang out with him, fine. Don't. That's what I believe. The whole world is our family. The whole world of unlimited people and permutations is our family. That's where we really need to do. Okay, hang on one sec. I'm getting signaled and I'm not really good at. Yeah. Everyone, I'd just like you to say hi to Zack. You know, the lovely product of our lives.
Hi, everyone.
Isn't he beautiful? You know, just love this boy. And you make me emotional. He does. He makes me emotional because I think you can see how heartfelt, of course, I am with all of this. Yeah, people are saying. So, where was I? Yeah, it's so lovely to have you, Zack, here. And I've talked about Beatrice's story. Oh, gosh. So, our big thing is, I think the biggest mistake that I see a lot is...
Hi, Hilma Rose.
So glad you're alive. We're all so glad he is a bit handsome, I think. He's so not into himself.
Thanks,
though.
Heidi.
He's very, very humble, which is so nice. Oh, April, you're crying too. Do not set me off. I'm such a weeper. I'm so good at weeping. Okay, stop crying, everybody. This is so beautiful. I think the most important thing, that we need to understand here is we cannot heal our children until we heal ourselves. We can't. We have to lead the way. We have to be the change that we want to see in the world. Our eyes are identical, apparently. They're a completely different colour.
I'm blue, you're...
Hi, Lucy. See what Lucy's asking you there.
Lucy. Do you do any work directly related with teenage boys? No, I haven't at the moment. Possibly in the future.
Yeah.
I'm pretty busy at the moment, but
yeah,
maybe, if I want to have some free time in the future.
Yeah, and I think Zack is now he's now the CEO of MTE. The things that he does, I'm in awe of what my son does in this business. No. I actually am. I'm so proud of him, and and he's so humble and he's so lovely, and he's just, of course he has his faults, will too. I know.
Give me a big head.
Big head, but you can, we both support each other, so much. So we're very blessed after, where we've come from and what we went through. It's just amazing. So do we have any? Okay, let's have a look here. April Milligros.
And if you got any more questions, we'll probably be on for another couple of minutes, just a few more minutes. So if you got any more questions, please send them in.
I'll get back to you, Irina, here. I'm just going to answer April. I left my ex-narc in November. I'm working the program on Module 6 now. Sometimes I'm having an issue trying to cover my feelings in front of my 2 kids. It's hard. This is a great question. It's hard raising them with no help. I break down about 1 to 2 a week. I get irritated. How can I get better at this? April, we put out a post not long ago on Facebook, which was about let your children see you be real. So when I was going through my deep healing work and things, even so much before the event that we had, I was very honest with Zack about, I'm releasing my trauma. I'm doing healings right now. I need to be, and I'm meeting my trauma in my body. I'm taking responsibility for it and I'm wailing it out. He got very used to, I'd come from a background of he'd go, are you all right? And I go, I'm fine. And that's so damaging for our children because...
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that.
It's so damaging because his gut was like, Mum's not okay. I'm telling him I'm okay. I'm lying to him. He's like, well, what do I trust? My inner feeling? Or is she lying to me or am I lying to myself? And we're also teaching our children to stuff our feelings and not process them and heal them. which means that they're going to turn into the time bombs we are. And then the trauma inside is going to bring the people that traumatize us even more. And we, all that stuff. So be very real, and of course we don't want to turn them into little therapists where we're sharing everything with them and we're getting feedback. We just want to say to them, look, I'm healing my trauma. I'm working through it. You might hear me cry, but I'm letting out the pain and I'm bringing the good in. Age appropriate conversations with your child. It's really important that your kid says you be real. They get so much peace and comfort. And when you get real with yourself and them, they'll get real with you too. It's a really beautiful shift that happens there.
Rachel asked, Zach, do you remember losing your mum to the trauma, losing her emotionally before she healed? It wasn't just emotionally. It was physically, it was spiritually, it was financially, it was everything. I mean, she was a shell of a human being, essentially. And she was... I honestly thought, and our family thought, she wasn't going to make it.
Yeah.
She wasn't. She was on a, it was on a road to destruction, and it was a miracle. Really, it was a miracle that it turned around.
Yeah.
So I hope that answers your question.
Gosh, and Ileana said I couldn't agree more. Yeah, with whatever we were said there. So Irina said, what made you come back?
What made you come back?
To me.
A lot about what you said today about when you tried to just lecture and prescribe and tell me how I should behave, that's when I pushed away and that's when I didn't want to interact. But when you sort of just, had some compassion, understanding for what we'd put each other through and just saw me for who I was, and accepted me for who I was, regardless of how, any mistakes I'd made or, what kind of a person I was at the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Because isn't it true, when we're so traumatized and we're so broken, we're already so down on ourselves and we're already so... our self-esteem is rock bottom. And then, the last thing is, somebody telling you that you're like that it just makes you feel so abandoned and so rejected and so criticized and the shift, because when he contacted me in that 3 weeks, when we reunited, that's the mother he saw and that's the son I saw. We had this compassion and we had this heartfelt and we had this understanding, like the toxicity was gone but I so know it was the inner work, in that 3 weeks. It was really so interesting because when he contacted me to meet me down at the Seaford Hotel for lunch, I'll never forget it, but it was the day before, I think, that I just released and brought in a shift and I had so much peace on it. It was just like everything's in perfect and divine order, and I don't know how it's going to work out or even what's going to work out, but I just had a peace around him and me, and then bang, it happened.
We're getting so many lovely comments. Jamie said, that's hopeful to hear, Zach. April, thank you so much, Melanie. Seeing your son next to you makes me so happy. We're so glad. I think we're going to do more of these.
I think we should. I'd love to do more of this stuff with you. Okay, so Irina, how can I help my 15-year-old when he is suicidal? Irina, we've been saying the whole way through, I'd love you. Have you got NARP? Are you in NARP? If financially you can't be there, we'll sponsor you on there. It's the inner work. You've got to do the work. You've got to do the inner work. We've tried it every other way, haven't we? Ad nauseum, we've tried it every other way. We've got to do this way. It works. You're looking at the product here. So Heidi said, I left with nothing, nowhere to go. I just knew I had to leave. Nothing was better than, the good old Seaford Hotel. Bon, you're obviously a local.
Where are you from, Bon?
Where are you from? Oh, we've got a bit of a time delay for this.
That's all right.
That's all right. We'll probably see it.
We've got a couple more minutes if anyone's got any more questions.
Yeah. Has anybody got any more questions? Oh, Christina here. This is a good one. What module do you use for release of guilt? I'm currently using the modules. All right, Christine, I'll let you in on a little secret of how I power use NARP. I love module 1 for just any state, but my biggest favorite is the source, healing and resolution bonus module in NARP version 3. That is beyond crazy for me how good that is. So let's just say like that. Like if I had guilt, I knew, all right, I'd just set up the source, healing and resolution for the guilt, start clearing all the trauma of the guilt till I get to a 10 out of 10. Because the source, healing and resolution is our higher superconscious self that knows the best solution, miracle, synchronicity. No, it's the light that heals what we can't heal. So we just lose all the guilt, bring that in, get to a 10 out of 10 and guilt gone. That's the super tool I always use for a state to heal it. And within minutes, that whole guilt program could be completely gone from your life within minutes. Hope that helps.
Great.
Ashley. Will I do this or this one?
You go.
Okay, Ashley. My ex-narc tells our 4-year-old son very inappropriate things. Yeah, that's what they do. Which he repeats to me. That's what they do. It breaks my heart. Okay, that's a very valid point. Knowing his dad is gaslighting him. Just today he says, I make him sick health-wise. His father believes and claims he saved our son's life and I've neglected his health. I don't know how to handle this. We're in and out of court so much. Okay, so Ashley, you know, the biggest thing that is going on here for you is it breaks my heart and the trauma it's triggering. If you go inside and you heal that trauma that's triggering, this is the thing about narcs. They do the thing that's going to get to you the most. So they trigger the biggest unhealed wound. So the biggest unhealed wound within you is that I'm persecuted, I'm untrusted, I'm scapegoated, I'm blamed. And those will be old programs that have gone way back in your life, not just here. So it's getting hit. If you heal that within you, you'll emerge from that and it'll be like, and you'll just go, okay, well, that's what he's saying. That's okay. By the way, what would you like for dinner? And when it hits that point, when it just has no effect on you, it's nothing, you're just getting on with being the amazing you, being the amazing mum that you are, I promise you this stuff will all fall over into a big ball of crap of nothingness. Done. Promise you. Happens all the time.
We've got some great comments over here.
Okay.
Grace said she still hasn't tried the new material, NARP 3. You have to try. We're getting so much wonderful feedback about it, which is great.
Heather said she loves the source, healing and resolution. It's so powerful. It is my go-to, Heather. I love it. It's so good. All right. Fitvic, you've had some great comments here. I've seen hints of my ex-narc changing. Do you right off assume it's fake? Oh, okay. Well, yeah, it can be. However, the thing is, you know, when we up-level ourselves, when we know people are narcissists, it's not like we're going to invite them over for champagne and cheese and biscuits. Like, why would we? But, you know, when you up-level and you heal and you get empowered, their behavior, their narcissistic stuff is going to be a lot less evident in your experience because it's so within, so without. They actually have to take it somewhere else. So that could be that.
Hilma Rose said, how do I access the new modules? You should have been given an email if you're a NARPA, but if you haven't got it, just write into support at Melanie Turner Evans and the support team will get you connected. All right, Hilma?
Yeah.
Or Hilma Rose, sorry.
Yeah. The new shorter healings. Yeah. I think the new shorter healings. Bon, you didn't tell us where you're from, or did you? You were near Seaford somewhere. Cat Trappin. Unfortunately, I believe my oldest daughter is a narcissist. We've got a Thriver TV coming out next week on this exact topic. My concern now is my 13-year-old granddaughter who will be coming to live with me next month. I haven't lived close to her, so I'm uncertain if she herself is an N or a not. How should I proceed? Okay. All right. So how you should proceed. Can
I just say something?
Yeah, please.
When I was 13, I was a narcissist. I mean, teenagers are inherently narcissistic to a degree. But I think I'll let you answer the second half of that.
Okay. All right. So the really important thing, Kat, is to be ourselves and our truth regardless of who anybody else is or isn't being. So, we can be kind and accommodating, but we can have boundaries. And that's really all you can do is have your values and your truths and have boundaries, and don't necessarily be looking out for it. I think in life it's really important for us not to be going, well, are they or aren't they? Or really, we just want to live as our true selves and our best selves. And then people will either step up to meet us at that level of evolutionary experience of integrity, or they'll move out of our experience. That's really the best that you can do there. That's what I would do. Be yourself.
Jennifer said, you both are so amazing and inspiring. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you for being part of the community.
Yeah, that's so beautiful.
Getting so many lovely comments. I think we have to, we've gone over an hour. We have to keep it,
okay. I know we could
go
sit here all day.
We go all day. Maybe we'll do an all day stream one day.
And then we could go to the Seaford Hotel for lunch. Like old times. No, we won't. How about we just do this last one, Rachel?
Yep.
Yeah? My narc recovery brought up suppressed memories of childhood sexual abuse. Big light bulb moment of how I attracted a predator who used intimacy against me for power and control. These new memories of raping me looking into your program. Oh, will it help me with that? Rachel, how big a yes can I say? Yes, 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 and yes. The NARC program is all about our original traumas, finding them, because what happens in every healing is the Quantum Freedom healing process accesses your literal cellular memory, which includes your adult trauma, your childhood trauma, your epigenetic trauma, which inherited generational trauma, past life trauma, all of it. From all levels of your subconscious. Absolutely. And it's so common. Sexual abuse, I would say, is a case of virtually most females that have suffered narcissistic abuse have had sexual abuse somewhere in their background. So yes, it's going to help you incredibly with that. Okay. Oh gosh, I'm seeing more I want to answer. Okay, for those of you with NARP, any questions, go into the NARP forum. If you're silver, you can ask support at Melanie Tony Evans. So any NARP module questions.
And remember, if you haven't tried it, there's a money back guarantee, 30 days. So if you can try it out. If it's not for you, that's okay. You get your money back, no questions asked.
And you still get to keep it?
No, not anymore.
Oh,
not anymore. It's a bit of an oopsie.
Oops, you don't get to keep it.
You could if you downloaded everything and you were clever, but
we're not meant to tell you that.
We're not meant to tell you that, but.
Okay, so the biggest thing is we want you to heal. We want all families to be like this. Oh gosh, I have girlfriends who go, I look at you and Zack, and that's what I want, and I'm like, keep at it, keep healing. Keep doing the healings because, and we've had, one of our dearest friends, who is a moderator in one of the Facebook groups, 5 generations, just from her doing the NARP healings and then proxy healings, 5 generations of her family have all reunited. And I just get hair stand up everywhere when she talks about this. This is how powerful we are as quantum machines when we get this right on the inside. Oh, Sam's laughing at my oopsie. I'm sure that'll be on the MTE team. Did you hear what Melanie said? So funny. Okay. Anyway, we love you. We love you everyone, so much, and we want you to have what we've got. I guess the conversation's going to continue on YouTube and Facebook
if you got any more
about
comments,
this.
We'll be posting. We'll be posting the recordings. So if you got any more comments, leave them there. And
we've got to. Oh gosh, about the award thing. What's it called again?
I'll post the link.
Okay, but I need to say.
Kindred Spirit.
Okay,
Kindred Spirit.
Everybody. Kindred Spirit Awards. Personality of the Year. I've been nominated, which is kind of crazy. And Eckhart Tolle won it last year, so apparently it's quite big. And you can vote for me I'd love you to vote for me. I'm asking, all my beautiful peeps to vote for me. So we're going to put the link up. So please vote for me. And what you can also do is write a little thing about me and share with your friends and maybe get them to vote for me as well. Because can you, I'm good at getting votes, but can you imagine, the thing is, because this is like a global award, what's really important is how much recognition and exposure the Thriver movement,
that's what it's all about,
to heal and get out of victimhood and heal from abuse. That's going to get the exposure, and that's what I am totally passionate about. So we're going to put the link up. So please, if you haven't voted, can you vote more than once? No, you can't, but you can grab somebody and twist their arm and go, vote for her, please. You can do that. All right. Thank you, everybody. We love you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone.